Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. You are listening to REP Paranormal and Friends with Kim Purvis and Allison Robinson. Paranormal Buzz Radio is not responsible for anything the guests or these hosts say because the hosts can be assholes. So sit back, enjoy the show, and have fun. There you go.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's try this again. We have Bobby J Gallo on, so thank you, and thank you everyone for your patience. Let's kind of go through what we were talking about earlier, and if you could just give your background again, that would be awesome. So everyone can hear you this time and not sound like a demon.
Yes, I was doing an impersonation of Babozo the Demon, I hear. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. This is Bobby J Gallo, and basically, I've been doing paranormal investigation since 1990. I'd like to tell people that I was actually investigating before the term paranormal investigator was even coined. Back then, some friends and I got together and we investigated a haunted theater that was actually built by my great uncle, so I actually had family ties to the place. And one of our team members named us the Psy Guys because he insisted we have a name. And we were using very primitive equipment back then, the old style tape, VCR tape, and 35 millimeter camera, a pendulum, which was actually an old piece tied onto the end of a string. And we really did experience some paranormal activity. We did a few investigations. And I took a break for a number of years, became a professional magician and toured around the country, then decided to settle down, have a family. And one night we were actually watching this brand new show that you may have heard of on the Travel Channel called Ghost Adventures. Yeah. And I mean, who hasn't heard of it, right?
Who hasn't heard of them? I know, right?
Right. And I have two girls, and they both had a crush on Zach. And
okay, now my finest moment.
Yeah, well, that's okay. By the way, everybody.
That's okay. I did too at the very beginning, but now I'm like, eh.
Now you're over it.
I'm over it.
So it was funny that because I turned to my kids while we were watching it and I said, "Hey kids, Daddy used to do that too." And all of a sudden the world completely stopped, and they turned to me, wide-eyed, and it was like that moment from the movie Spy Kids where they say, "My parents aren't cool enough to be spies." And immediately they wanted to go ghost hunting. No fear, no hesitation. And that's honestly what started it all.
Very nice. Very nice, yeah. Excuse me. Got a little tickle in my throat all of a sudden. All right, let's see here. Let's go back to my questions here. Let's kind of dig into your book just a little bit. They can find your book on Amazon, correct? And there's other places they can find it. It's called Family Spirits.
Yes, Family Spirits, The Adventures and Evidence of Gallo Family Ghost Hunters by Bobby J Gallo. You can absolutely find that on Amazon. Right now it's also on Kindle. You can also find the physical book on Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and several other sites as well. Or you can actually order it direct from the publisher website, which is FamilySpiritsBook.com.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to write this down so that way I can post it on our Instagram and Twitter. You said FamilySpirits.com. They can order it directly from there as well?
FamilySpiritsBook.com.
Book.com. Okay, perfect.
And also, the one other website that we really like people to check out is our web series, which is ghosthunter.ws.
Yes, that's another thing that I had written down that I was going to talk about, so that way people can look at some of your investigations, evidence, and things like that, where they can find you. But yeah, I did have that written down to talk about your web series a little bit too. So if you want to touch base on that just a little bit.
Sure, absolutely.
You can find on there.
Yeah, the web series was kind of really was started by accident. we had done a few investigations early on, as a family, and we were just doing it as a hobby. We were doing it for fun. And I would videotape everything because that's basically just in my nature.
Yeah, it is. Everything. Christmas, birthdays, etc.
Yeah. And ghost hunting. And it was our second investigation. And it was actually probably one of our most frightening investigations was actually our second investigation. We were in an old cemetery where we were actually told to get out by a spirit. And I had videotaped it. And even watching the videotape today, there's a certain vibe to it that's really dark. And I said, let me just put this on YouTube. So I go and put it on YouTube, and the thing just went viral. It got, I don't know, it's something like 50, 60,000 hits. And that's when I realized that people were really interested in this type of material. Now, keep in mind that when we did this, you could count the number of people doing paranormal web series on one hand. And there was not a lot of people doing it. And in fact, April Abercrombie from Ghost Advice on Facebook would always say, wow, this is awesome. This is like another ghost show to watch because it was a novelty. And from then we started doing more investigations and we just started putting out more episodes. And it kind of grew from there. And, we took a number of years hiatus. And we just recently started doing it again. And I figured, this is a great opportunity to write a book and basically recount the old episodes and give the behind the scenes and a retrospective of the web series. And that's really, a lot of what Family Spirits is about.
Very nice. Yes. I did get to read your book, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting. I liked a lot of the points that you touched base on. Earlier, when we first started this interview, we were kind of talking about equipment. So if you kind of want to give us an idea of like what's your favorite equipment, what you like to use, kind of go through that again.
We definitely use a lot of the basic equipment. We actually even use some apps, some phone apps, and I know that's a touchy subject for some people, but we found a few that really work. And when it comes to phone apps, you pretty much have to know where it's coming from, who developed it, and why they developed it, because we know there's a lot of trash out there. But we use the Ghost Speaker by Krugism. I know Scott Krug. I've corresponded with him. It's on the level, and we've gotten some mind-blowing evidence with it. But probably my favorite piece of physical equipment is something called the Spirit Touch, and that's basically a piece of equipment that was developed by Gotcha Ghost. And it's really an advanced form of the flashlight technique. It's a touchpad, and it only works on an exchange of human electrons. Something has to physically touch the touchpad for an LED light to go on and off. Mm-hmm. Designed so it cannot be influenced by outside EMF or anything else. So if that light turns on or off during an investigation, during a communication, to me, that's compelling evidence because I know how the equipment was designed.
Right, yes, absolutely.
That was a good example of that.
Right. Tell them what,
okay.
Nikki G just we use it on actually an episode. And Nikki, something really crazy happened with it. Go ahead, tell them, Nikki.
Okay, so when we were on the investigation, it's probably one of the most recent episodes we put up, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. And we every time the camera would turn away, the ghost was playing a joke. It would touch the screen, it would touch the button, and Dad would be like, "Oh, turn around," and it would be off. We would never got it on tape, but I think it was every single time. Yeah,
it happened. I never had that experience before in an investigation where a ghost would repeatedly touch it. If it touched it once, we would be lucky, but it must have happened, five or six times?
Like 100. Okay, about it. Okay, let's say probably 10 times.
Like 10 times.
10 times.
We did get a few of it on tape, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very cool. That's awesome, actually. Excuse me.
And what's cool about it is like you're hearing it from not just me, but from somebody who saw it happen.
Yeah, it was funny.
So, funny. This, and that's the one thing I want to stress to people. If they watch our web series or read the book, I can guarantee you 100% every single thing in that book and on the web series is real. And you're going to find there's going to be some episodes that are not that exciting. And then there's going to be some that are going to blow your mind. But I include everything because I want the reader or the watcher to see the whole scope of things. Because you guys probably know as well as us that sometimes investigations can be very boring. But I think it takes that perspective for people to really understand ghost hunting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're not always going to get stuff, too, when you're investigating. There's been plenty of times where we've been out and we haven't gotten a single thing. You know, it's just part of what you do. Sometimes you're going to get things, sometimes you don't. Like you said in your book, you like to go to places that really haven't been investigated. You know, you don't like to go to a lot of the places that have been over-investigated because, you know, spirits may get kind of bored with it or irritated with it. You just never know.
Exactly. You know, and a great example of that would be when we were in St. Augustine, the most famous attraction, a paranormal attraction in that entire city is probably the Castillo de San Marcos. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even Dr. Stafford, when he was taking us on the tour, would say this is probably one of the most haunted locations in the world. And I agreed with him, you know, especially when you realize that there's people buried in the grounds like all over the place. And believe it or not, when we were in St. Augustine, that was probably one of the least active locations.
I do remember that. It was very dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very dead.
But we would go other places.
And it would blow up. It was crazy.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. We get a lot of things like that, too, where we go to places that have been investigated quite a bit. And we do notice that, you know, sometimes it's really actually pretty quiet at some points, but I think they just get tired of having everybody there. But
I believe
the same question.
We do have a question in chat from Shay. She wants to know where you guys are from.
Right now, we are from
Roseto, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I wasn't exactly sure. I can't remember if I read it.
Yeah, well, we started up in Jersey. So
okay, that's what I thought I had read. So I was like, I kind of hear maybe a little bit of an accent, but I wasn't
You're
for sure.
over by Shay's area. She's in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Shay, who runs our shows in New Hampshire. So.
Well, this will be very interesting. The reason we went to Pennsylvania is because we bought a haunted castle.
Oh!
And
that is awesome.
We are actually sitting in the
what does my dad call it? Oh, Castello Gallo.
Castello Gallo, which is Italian for castle, and
yes.
we are in the top floor of Castello Gallo. And I believe that this house is haunted because I was actually living here before the rest of the family while we were in transition, and I already had some paranormal experiences here, so it's pretty cool.
Oh wow, awesome! That is pretty dang cool. I do remember you didn't you talk about that a little bit in your book? Or not?
I did. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't for sure, but I thought that's what I had read. So
there's a picture of it too in the book. Yes.
See, I didn't see any of the pictures in the thing that you sent, but yeah, I did read about it a little bit, and so that's actually pretty dang cool. So, like, it's like literally legit an actual castle, or?
Well, it's a big house that looks like a castle. So
okay,
for all it's you know it's made out of solid brick, so I would say it's a legit castle. It's just a small one.
We do have a question here in chat. So let me bring it up here real quick. We have a question from Darren. If you come across a full body apparition, who would you want it to be and what would you say?
Okay, well, that's an awesome question. Thank you for asking it. The fact is we've already come across several full-body apparitions. The first ones we ever experienced were not seen by Renee or myself, but were actually seen by Nikki G and her sister in St. Augustine. And it was amazing because both of them not only saw it, but were staring at it. Both of them could see it, and my wife and I could not. And where did that happen, Nick? Because you're the one who saw it.
Yeah, there's so many. I can't pinpoint one.
The one up in the turret. of the Castillo de San Marcos. Remember that?
Barely.
You barely? Okay, well.
I think I remember the Thomas Sprott one more than I do.
You got to go back and watch the episode.
I do.
So, all right. She was actually kind of small when that happened, but the second time, and the one that she's referring to, is we were on an investigation in a very small, privately owned cemetery that we had permission to investigate in South Carolina. And the spirit of a Revolutionary War hero was said to haunt the cemetery. And we were doing an investigation, and we were contacting, and we asked the spirit if it could manifest. So while Renee, my wife, and I were talking to the spirit, Nikki G had an infrared camera, and she could see it through the viewfinder, but we couldn't see it with our naked eye. And she took a picture of it. And the picture is in Family Spirits. It's also on the episode called The Hidden Grave of Thomas Sprott. And it's as tall as me and standing right next to me. And at the time, Nikki's going, Daddy, look. And I'm like, no, not now. Little did I know she probably caught one of the best photographic pieces of evidence we ever got.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. That is awesome. We have a couple more questions. Go ahead.
Yep. No, I said he posed for the picture just like we asked him to.
That is crazy. That's hard to get sometimes, Like, I haven't even had that happen yet, but that would be pretty awesome to see. Like, hey,
well, we haven't had that happen since. I mean, that you're right. That's almost a once in a lifetime.
That's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, that is cool. Let's see here. We have a couple more questions here. We have another question from Darren. What are your views on psychics?
Another awesome question, Darren. You're sharp, pal.
He is. He has a lot of questions. He is our go-to guy for questions.
It's a good one. I'll tell you straight up. I definitely have my opinions on it. Some are legit, some are not legit, and some are those suffering from psychosis through no fault of their own that hear voices but may not be spirits. So I think it actually runs the gamut. The reason I believe that some psychics are absolutely genuine is because one of the things that actually started me on my journey to find answers was because a psychic relayed a message to my sister-in-law, who was 5 states away at the time. The psychic named me by name and sent a message to me from my departed father, answering a burning question I had since he died in 1983. Oh, wow. So when something like that happens, you realize some of these psychics are for real. But as we know, some people really, really want to be psychic. And unfortunately, there are frauds out there. I even have books in my library that teach people on how to become fraudulent psychics, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
It's despicable. I think it's deplorable, but there are people out there that do it. But I also am absolutely convinced there are genuine psychics out there. I think James Von Prague is a genuine psychic. But of course, there are people that do hear voices, and as we know, that could probably be attributed to some psychological condition, and some people would believe that they're actually communicating. So there you go. There's my 3 views on psychics.
Very good. Very good. Let's see. He has another question here.
Go for it.
Let's see here. What are your views on astral projection?
Well, I happen to know some people that do it. I don't do it, but I know some people that practice it, and these are some really bright people. These are some really smart people. Like, the one person that comes to mind is Cyrus Kirkpatrick, and you can look him up on Facebook, and he's written entire books on this. Actually did a show with him promoting Family Spirits, and because he liked my connection between ghosts and my discussions of the afterlife, which is what he specializes in. But he practices astral projection, and he has some really cool evidence. So I think it's absolutely possible. I would say this: I'm afraid to do it. I'm not afraid of ghosts, but I would be afraid to do that because I would be afraid I'd be stuck outside of my body. So
yeah, exactly. Me too.
So you know what? I'm going to leave that to the professionals.
Yeah, I would too, definitely, because there is no way I want to be stuck somewhere else. No way.
Yeah, but if you look at it from a practical sense, if we believe in ghosts and we believe that consciousness can exist outside of the body, then why wouldn't that be possible?
Yeah, I totally agree, 100%. Let's see here. He's got another question. I told you, Darren is our go-to guy. Like, he will ask questions throughout the whole thing, and he's got some pretty good ones. So
I like him.
Let's see here. What are your views on doppelganger spirits and mimic spirits?
Well, another great question, because the bottom line is that when we're communicating with ghosts, spirits, entities, whatever you want to call them, they don't always tell the truth. And I believe it's because it's symptomatic of earthbound spirits, because the ones we are communicating with are earthbound spirits, from my personal research. And they're earthbound for a reason. Sometimes for benign reasons, sometimes not. And if they fall into the not category, they might be mischievous. They might be, they might want to cause trouble. They might say that they are somebody that they are not. So they might pretend to be doppelgangers. And so, we really, the bottom line is we never really know who we're talking to. So we always have to take it with a grain of salt. We're there to get the evidence. I want the hard evidence that there's at least something there. Because, and that's why I don't like and I don't advocate trying to contact deceased family members or anything that you have an emotional vested interest in, because that could lead to trouble. Try to be almost third party on an investigation, because what's going to happen is you are going to get some spirits that are going to say, Luke, I am your father, and they're not,
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, I think it's possible, but it's not a theory I really want to pursue.
Yeah, same here. Nope, absolutely not. All right, I'm just checking here. There's a little bit of a delay, but I'm just seeing if there's any more questions here before I go on with some of mine.
Oh, Darren didn't put one in there.
Huh?
What would you want not to be haunted?
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a question that Darren has like a tally running on. So we ask it at every show. What item would you not want to be haunted?
What item?
Yeah, anything that you would not want to be haunted.
Well, I've already had haunted items, so I will tell you that the one that I had the most trouble with was a pair of dowsing rods.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. My first of all, let me tell you something about Renee. My wife is gifted, for sure. Mm-hmm. And when we were down south doing the investigations, I had bought her a pair of homemade copper dowsing rods. And she had never used the rods before. The moment she picked them up, it was like she was using them her entire life. She was so good at these rods that experts would watch our videos and they would say, I just can't see how she's doing it. And my response would always be, she's not doing it. And over time, because of so many communications with these rods, there were attachments to these rods. One day, I took my EMF detector and I put it close to the rods, and my EMF detector almost jumped out of my hand. These things are not supposed to carry an electrical charge, but these things are so charged up with energy that I said, and we were having some issues at the time. I said, I think this is one of the culprits, and I got rid of them. So that's what I don't want to be. I don't want things that I'm using in an investigation to be haunted, because A, you're bringing these things home with you, and B, whatever's attached to these objects might be influencing your investigation. So be wary of that.
Okay. Yes, very. Let's see here. We have another question from Tim. He wants to know your thoughts on pyrokinesis and psychic stuff.
Psychokinesis and psychics?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I think that's what he means, actually.
No problem. I think that's a great question. This is all psychic. Everything here is psychic. That's why we call this psychic phenomenon, because a lot of this happens in the mind. And when I say happens in the mind, I'm not saying happens in the brain. The mind and the brain are two different things. The mind is your spirit, is your soul, is your consciousness. And that's what they mean by psychic phenomenon. So, yes, absolutely. And that being said, when you're on an investigation, remember, intention is everything. If you don't want something to follow you home, firmly say it and mean it. You stay here, I'm going home. Or I'm going home, you stay here, and mean it. And it's sometimes, when it comes to, entities that you're communicating with, it's a test of wills. And you always have to approach it in a very respectful manner. Don't be negative. I am not a fan of the intimidation method of ghost hunting, and we all know where that comes from. Don't do it. Don't antagonize ghosts. Because again, this is all psychic, and yes, it's all psychic phenomenon. Psychics, there are real psychics, and it all ties together at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Let's see here. Got another question from Darren. Man, they're just question after question after question, so I can't get through my list that I have, but that's okay, because we like that. We like the interaction. So Shay says douchebaggins. I know who she's talking about.
I know exactly who she's talking about.
That's why I laughed. I was like, "Yep, I know it was her." Yep.
I've met him before, and he is like the most socially awkward person you'll ever meet. Honestly, he really is. Okay. Anyways, let's see here. Darren has another question. What are the benefits of having a shaman on an investigation?
Oh, well, I know a shaman. His name is Robert Grote, and he actually summoned a portal for us in a certain location. To this day, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, because we definitely got more than we bargained for. The place was already haunted. And he was like, yeah, he was a drumming shaman, and with his drumming, he was able to do these things. But he also helped me out when I was having some problems, getting rid of some attachments later on. So that is a good thing. I think that's your biggest benefit, is that they are skilled in a number of ways. From my own personal experience, they could open portals and they could close them, and they could also send away negative energies. So, yeah, that would be my short answer.
Very nice, very nice. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling through here real quick before I go to my questions. Oh, we have another one. Darren, what location would you never go back to?
Oh, easy one. It was, if you go to the web series and you watch, one was called it was called The Gatekeeper is the episode. It was actually 2 episodes put into one episode, and Nikki's just sighing right now and leaning back in her chair and shaking her head, because that was a really negative investigation, and I would never go back to that cemetery. I had found out later on that there were actually voodoo rituals being performed there, which is probably why there was a guardian spirit there that did not want us there in no uncertain terms, and did everything in its power to make us leave. And that's all I'm going to say. It's called The Gatekeeper. If you want to see it, it's all on tape.
Oh, wow. And that's on your web series?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And where can they find your web series again? And I'll make sure I post it on my Instagram and Twitter.
That was ghosthunter.ws.
Ghosthunter.ws. I think I have it written down from my notes from the book, but yeah, I do. But I just wanted to make sure I had it correct, so that way I'll post this stuff on my Instagram and Twitter, so that way everybody can find you too and look at.
And then we'll post it on our page too.
Yeah, and then Kim will post it on our Facebook page for us. So.
Yeah, Nikki G just reminded me too. You could watch it on TV if you go to Vimeo, like the Vimeo app on either Roku or Amazon Fire Stick.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yep. Go to the Vimeo app and just type Gallo Family Ghost Hunters in the search bar, and you could see all 60 episodes.
Oh, wow. 60 of them. Holy smokes.
Yeah, 60. And here's another little tidbit. We just got done remastering every single one of them in 1080 HD. So now they really look like you're watching an actual television show. It took 6 months to do it.
Oh, wow. That is insane.
Yeah, I am insane.
I wish I was tech savvy so I could do some of that stuff for us, but I am just not that tech savvy. I can run our show, which tonight for some reason we were having technical difficulty, but that's about the extent of my.
It wasn't you. It was Babuzo the demon.
Yeah, we summoned a demon for our show tonight. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. I'm just double checking to make sure there's no questions before I go back to mine. Let's see.
Shay said send her the stuff and she'll post it too on her page.
Okay, perfect. So we'll send the stuff to Shay, who's helping us run the show tonight, since apparently I couldn't figure it out. And she'll post it on her stuff as well too, so that way we can get the word out, and hopefully people will be buying that book, because like I said, it is a really damn good book. I read it all in one day. Half a day, actually. So I haven't read in a while, but it was pretty good.
I'm really impressed, because that's 260 pages.
I know.
Well, a day.
I had Tuesday off, so I sat down, and when I woke up, I started reading it as soon as I got it downloaded. And so, yeah, I'm a pretty fast reader. There's been times where I've been able to read a couple books a day. So once I have time to read a book, I sit down, and that's literally all I do.
You and Nikki G have a lot in common.
Yes, you do. I am a big. You should see my library.
That is awesome. It's been a long time since I've been able to sit down and read a book, so I was thoroughly excited to be able to have some quiet time to read. Between all activities, my own activities and stuff, I was like, I'm sitting down and I'm taking time to myself to read this book.
It's so nice, too, when interviewers read the book prior to an interview. I just think it's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, like we had talked about before our thing went a little haywire on us, we were talking about walking tours and how you like to actually do the walking tours. And that kind of gives you ideas on where to go ahead and, possibly do some investigations, correct?
Absolutely. When you're in a strange city, you need leads to find out where you're going to do an investigation, where you're going to ghost hunt. So I actually like to book the walking tours. I think they're enjoyable. They're fun. And normally after the walking tour is over, we go back to those locations and we do an investigation. So, yeah, absolutely love doing it. In fact, on our web series, we do a number of investigation in Salisbury, North Carolina. And all of those spots we learned about during a walking tour.
Very nice. Where are some of the walking tours that you have done and then actually gone back and investigated those areas?
Well, definitely the one I just mentioned, Salisbury, North Carolina. Yes. Another one was in St. Augustine, which we did with the late Dr. Harry Stafford, who was just a legendary investigator. And, we did one in the Ripley's Castle, which then I kind of strayed off on my own. Probably shouldn't have done that. Shh, don't tell anybody. But and I think we've done a few others, but right now I'm drawing a blank. But yeah.
Oh, we always hang back and do
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sometimes we hang back from the group and like, okay, this is a hot spot. Let them go ahead and get the equipment out.
Have you ever felt like you said you went off for a little bit. Have you ever felt like, what's the word I'm looking for? I have a brain fart right now. I just had it in my head. I totally lost.
I just had one. You're entitled.
It's like, it's been one of those nights, like, I don't know. I'll probably think of it and I'll get back to it. But also another thing in your book that you had talked about were like orbs. What are your thoughts on the orbs?
Probably the most controversial subject in the entire field of the paranormal. It
absolutely is.
Look, here's the deal. I'm just going to do as you know, in Family Spirits, I spend a lot of time on orbs, only because we have had some situations where there's no way that the orb could have been dust or an airborne anomaly. Yes, I do agree with all of the skeptics out there that if you shake a Swiffer in front of a camera, you're going to get particulates in the lens. It's common sense. I totally believe that. However, there are times when we have called an orb into an existence. We've said, appear, boom, take the picture, and it's right where we wanted it to be. We've also had more than one occurrence where we saw the orbs with our own eyes and then took pictures of them. And we saw orbs with our own eyes and took videotape of them. Courtney, Nikki G's sister, has a knack for seeing orbs with the naked eye, and we've caught them on camera and tape on more than one occasion. And also, you have to look at it this way. There are some brilliant people. Klaus Heinemann, who wrote the Orb Project, is a NASA scientist. If anybody could debunk these things, he could. He did extensive investigation and research on orbs, and he's come to the conclusion that a lot of orbs are paranormal in nature. Fiona Broom, who did the foreword to my book, used to be a staunch orb skeptic. She's done a 180 after years of research and now supports the paranormal nature of some orbs. So I come down right in the middle. I think there are airborne anomalies that can make orbs, and I think there are paranormal orbs. And people go, well, how do you know the difference? I said, well, look, skeptics will tell you that moisture, dust, insects, and pollen will all make an orb that looks exactly the same. So if that's the case, then why can't we put a spirit into the mix there? Maybe their orbs look the same too. And we don't know if the orbs are actual spirits. They could be emanations from spirits. They could be portals. We don't know. We just know this, that orbs appear in our photos at haunted locations far more than they appear any other time. In fact, I've taken literally, I would say thousands, hundreds or thousands of pictures with my cell phone because as part of my day job, all I do is take pictures all day. I never get orbs. Orbs. But we go on an investigation, all of a sudden there's orbs. I mean, you got to look at the evidence. There's something there. There's something there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you really got to just look at things. And a lot of times, when we're out on an investigation, if we see something, we try to replicate it to see if we can actually get it to happen again before we say, this could be possibly paranormal, before we totally throw it out.
Exactly. Which is the difference between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter. Because a paranormal investigator will say, if there is even the slightest or most remote possibility that this could have been an organic cause, they throw a piece of evidence out. That could have been a great piece of evidence. I mean, so a ghost hunter doesn't really do that. A ghost hunter will collect bits and pieces of evidence and try to put them together like a puzzle to get a complete picture.
Yep. Because, actually on our first investigation, we went to Valeska. I'm just going to share a quick story. But, this was our very first one. Like I said, you take your old night shot camera with the disc, and I have mine with the cassette tape that's night vision. Mm-hmm. And I was literally sitting there, and my cousin was sitting on the bed, and I told her with my own eyes, I could see something in front of her face. And I'm like, there's something in front of your face. I'm going to try to catch this on camera. Well, we had my camera set up on a tripod, and I was taking my phone trying to take pictures. And all of a sudden, you could see her, but then you couldn't. There was like this big ball of it was like she was all blurred out, and it was just like bright light. And I got this rush on me, and I literally started crying and freaked out because I didn't know what happened. Mm. And you can hear all the audio and stuff on the video camera, and you can see the different takes on my camera. So, there's possibilities that, it could possibly be an orb. Literally, I saw that with my own eyes before, and I didn't even know what it was at first.
Exactly. So, look, we're in such, the paranormal is in its infancy stage right now. It's way too early to be discounting even orbs. I mean, you can't just say, okay, well, that's been debunked, on to the next thing. No, it hasn't completely been debunked. We really need to keep it in the mix, for a while longer, because we don't know. And we don't know how these ghosts manifest. And, again, if all of these things they're saying, moisture has nothing to do with pollen, which has nothing to do with dust, which has nothing to do with an insect. These are totally unrelated things, but yet they all make the same orb. Well, then why can't a ghost make the same orb? I mean, we need to keep our minds open, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yes. Yep. Oh, excuse me. I have the hiccups now all of a sudden. Goodness gracious. Tim at ours says, he'd be freaked out if he saw one. So...
Well, a good friend of mine who was a staunch orb skeptic, probably more than anybody could be, and he was on an investigation with me. He saw an orb with his own eyes, and he turned to me and he says, Bob, he goes, I just saw an orb. I said, where? He says, right over there. It was in a men's room in the haunted theater I was telling you about. I swung around, and I took a picture with my camera. I didn't see anything. Boom, there it was in the camera, the same one that he saw. And by the way, that was a follow-up investigation. We actually went back to that same haunted theater 20 years after I did it with the Psy guys. And we just got all kinds of evidence. And that's on the web series as well.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. I'm just checking here to make sure there's no questions that I have lost. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Okay, so Tim in our chat here wants to know what your thoughts are on shadow people. He encountered one in 2009, but he wants to know your thoughts on shadow people.
Well, in Family Spirits, we actually have a photo of one. So I'm a believer. Now, this photo was actually caught in St. Augustine. After we did the Dr. Harry Stafford walking tour, the next night we went back to some haunted locations with a family that we had met. And the husband, the father in the family, looked up. We were investigating an old haunted pub. And he looked up, and in the window he said, I see a shadow figure up there. Again, I couldn't see it. He saw it. I took a picture, and in the picture, there it was, and it was a clear outline of a human form. And I took a couple pictures. In subsequent pictures, the form had completely vanished. So it wasn't a trick of the light. It was there 1 minute, gone the next. So, yeah, I believe, I don't know what they are. To answer the caller's question, if he's asking me if I know what they are, I don't. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of speculation, but right now, I don't think we're at a point where we can really definitively say what they are.
I agree. Let's see. Just making sure there's no... Oh, I do have another question. Our chat is a little delayed here, so sometimes I have to back out and then come back in. I don't know why. My phone is a little crazy. But Darren has another question. He wants to know, what are your views on virtual reality in the paranormal field?
Virtual reality in the paranormal field. It's pretty metaphysical, actually, because, theory states that our consciousness can create our own reality. And there's also another metaphysical theory that states that after we die, we create our own afterlife. So maybe that's a form of virtual reality that we could create using our mind. But as far as any modern technology in the paranormal, I'm not sure I see a correlation with that yet. Maybe in the future there will be, because after all, we use EMF detectors to detect ghosts. So they were created to, detect leaks in your microwave. So there's a lot of modern day equipment that we use for paranormal, heat guns would be actually another great example. Thermal leak detectors. But as far as virtual reality, I don't see the connection just yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. I'm just making sure we don't have any others here.
Yep.
Oh, we have another one. Okay. Right. Oh, yep, we do have another one. For some reason, mine's not updating, but Kim's is, so I'm going off of hers here. Darren has another question. What are your views on the Estes method?
So, I'm sorry, the what method?
Estes. Like where you're blindfolded and then you have the headphones on and then you listen to like static and people ask questions and you kind of get information through your spirit box or whatever you're using to coincide with their with the questions that they're asking.
Okay, that's a good question. My theory is I don't like it, and this is why. I feel that there are some experimental procedures in the paranormal right now that open you up a little bit too much to these outside energies. Because in order to do that, you really got to just open your mind up. Because you're blindfolding yourself, you're blocking out all your senses to try to interpret energies that are coming through. And to me, that could be, and look, I'm not an expert. I say this in family spirits. I'm not an expert. Everything I write about is my own personal experience.
Right.
But I do tend to shy away from anything that I think could be risky and cause an attachment. And I think that might be able to.
Very good. I'm just looking here to see if there's any more questions. We will have to wrap up soon just because we have another show on right after us. But let me see here because I want to make sure people get all their stuff in and I want to make sure we get your information out there too. So let's see here. Kim, do you have anything else on your...
No, Darren's out of questions.
Okay.
Well, there's
No. No. Let's see here. I'm just looking through. Oh, I know. Another thing I want to talk about is besides your paranormal, you were like a magician, correct? I thought that was something kind of cool to talk about a little bit too, to touch base on before, and how you were talking about Houdini and how he didn't really believe in the spirits. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically, Houdini, half of his act was debunking fraudulent spiritualists around the Victorian era. And, here's the thing about that. He was duplicating what they were doing, and he was showing how it could have been done. There was nothing really concrete that he was actually debunking these people, because a lot of people are revisiting these old seances of the past. Some of the stuff actually might have been real given what we know today. And but Houdini did try to debunk that. So modern day magicians feel it incumbent upon them to debunk anything paranormal. And I came into this with a total opposite attitude. I wanted to see if I could use my knowledge as a magician to prove the paranormal rather than debunk it. So that's basically how I use my skill set. And by the way, Nikki G is a cosmetologist, so I don't know how that goes into the paranormal.
Oh, you're funny.
I do remember you talking though a little bit about that in your book. Yes,
well, the whole family actually wrote their own bios in Family Spirits. Yes. One thing I wanted them to do. So they did an awesome job.
Do you want to before we start to wrap up here, before the next show starts, do you want to tell us a little bit about who's all in your group?
Yes, it's myself, obviously, Nikki G, who's my oldest daughter, who's standing right beside me, my youngest daughter, Courtney, and my wife, Renee. And that is basically our group. And occasionally we do investigations with guest investigators, but mostly it's just us four. And I will say that when I do a solo investigation, I don't get nearly as much evidence as when the rest of the family is with me. I think it's an energy thing. I don't know.
It could be. You never know.
I think they do. I think that's the truth.
All right. We're going to kind of get wrapped up here again. So go ahead and just, if you could just tell us where they can find your book, Family Spirits, again, one more time. And like I said, we'll post it on all our pages. Shay's going to post it on hers so we can get the word out there for you, because it is an awesome book. So I want everybody to check it out. But please just give us those list of where they can find it again one more time before we wrap things up.
Okay, great. Basically, Family Spirits, 260 pages. The first half of the book is everything I know about the paranormal. The second is actually a companion to the web series, which is a walkthrough of all 60 episodes. And you can see a lot of behind the scenes that you won't see on the web series. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and several European retailers whose names I can't pronounce.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's also available on Kindle right now till the end of the month. You could actually read it free on Kindle Unlimited. And you could also watch the web series at ghosthunter.ws. Or you could order the book direct from the publisher's website, which is FamilySpiritsBook.com.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to give a quick shout out to everybody who was in chat tonight, because we had a lot of awesome people in chat and a lot of questions. So I want to give them shout outs real quick. Well, of course, myself and Kim were in there. We had Shay, who was helping us run the show tonight. So thank you, Shay, for helping us out. We had Darren, who had all the questions tonight. We had Wolf, that was in there for a little bit. We had Angie. We had Tim. Let me see if there's anybody else that I missed, because we had quite a few interactions in chat. I just want to make sure I don't forget anybody. I think I got everybody, but thank you for being in chat. Thank you for everybody who was listening but not in chat tonight. We appreciate each and every one of you. I will be posting stuff on my Instagram, Paranormal24, about Bobby J Gallo and his Family Spirits book, so you can find out where you can buy that book. Like I said, it's a very awesome book. Go out, read it. It's awesome. I loved it. Like I said, I read it like a half a day. So please go check that out. Thank you for being on. Thank you, Nikki, for being on too, even though you didn't talk quite a lot, but thank you for being on anyways. You guys are awesome guests. You're welcome. Everybody enjoyed it. They loved it. So thank you very much. And we will get that information out, and hopefully people will check out your book then. So thank you very much. And we will
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry about all the technical difficulty. I'm not sure what was going on tonight. Maybe there was a little spiritual thing going on. Who knows? There's a full moon tonight, right? So that could be part of it.
Just to let you know, this was my 13th podcast.
Holy smokes.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That did it.
No, but it's the whole
13th on. Oh, I guess tomorrow's Friday the 13th. Yeah. I don't know why I'm a day ahead of myself, but, All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
All right. Thank you.